So I entered another Builder's Challenge. This one it's the Builder's Challenge Mini Challenge number 3. Return of the challenge. I gotta make a thing, and it has to involve wood and epoxy. And it has to fit in a box that's 24 inches by 24 inches by 6 inches. We have lots of scraps. That's a piece of walnut. Here we go. What if we make a box? What if we make a heart-shaped box, right? Like that song by, like that song. So if we got a strip of paper, we can make a box by laminating some stuff together. Oh, it's perfect. Perfectly long. So we need to cut a bunch of strips out of this big. So I ripped these to 1.5 inches wide, and now I have to cut little slivers so I can laminate them together and make a heart shape for the box. I should use the bandsaw, but my bandsaw blade is pretty crappy. So I'm just gonna use the table saw by marking a line on the table, and then I'm gonna keep moving my fence over and then get little, cut little slivers out of it. Then throw these in there. I was afraid of the wood cracking and splitting when I clamp it to the template, so I soaked them in some hot water for about 20 minutes to make them a little more bendy. This step isn't actually necessary. If you can cut them all to a really thin, consistent thickness, or if you have a drum sander, then you can skip this step. Before I actually glue them up, I'm gonna let them dry clamped to the mold first. That way they're a little more bendy. They bended. They're bent now. Mission accomplished. If you do soak them in water, make sure they're fully dry before you glue them up, because, well, you'll see. Well, the glue up went horribly. This is like the best one. None of them really worked. Might have been because the wood was still kind of wet. I frustratingly applied some more glue, clamped them up, and then once they dried again, I used the bandsaw and the table saw to clean up the edges a little bit. For the top and bottom, I resawed some walnut and then cut some walnut strips and planed them down to different thicknesses. I set up a stop block on my miter sled and cut about 1,000 little tiny rhombuses. Man, all right, that took a long time to sand all those. So to attach these suckers to the lid, I used a dot of CA glue in the center to hold it down until the wood glue dried. That way I can keep working on the project. Now it's bonded. Well, that turned out that looks pretty awesome. Really happy with that. Okay, weight down. All right, now that we got a defined line, we can cut this out on the bandsaw. My only bandsaw blade is incredibly dull, and it's too wide to make sharp turns. I realize I'm not using the right bandsaw blade here. To join the two halves of the bent lamination heart together, I whipped up a quick box joint jig, and that seemed to work pretty well. When it came to the epoxy, I want to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. I went to a craft store and I got some red metallic craft paint and some red glitter to kind of make it look a little more interesting. And it did, but when it came to mixing the epoxy with the hardener, I kind of just eyeballed it. And I think because of that, I just didn't add nearly enough hardener, which caused the epoxy to never cure fully. You can kind of see where I messed up. So I tried fixing it by mixing up some new epoxy using the correct ratios and poured that in as just kind of a clear coat on top, and that seemed to work. I threw a couple coats of spray lacquer on there as a finish. I filled it with their favorite chocolates and a poem because I'm just a freaking sap, I guess. Thanks a lot for being here. I will be back again soon with another video. Have a lovely day. All right, I'll see you. Okay, bye. All right, so the epoxy wasn't cured all the way, right? So I added a little bit more to kind of like do it right. Well, that wasn't a good idea. I don't know if it was the epoxy. You know what? I used spray lacquer in there too. That might have been it. Anyway, the person I sent it to ended up getting it, ate the chocolates, and the chocolates tasted like epoxy. Make sure you use the right ratio of epoxy. I let it cure. I don't know what happened. I thought it was hilarious. We both thought it was hilarious. But yeah, now I gotta send her some more chocolates. All right, that's it. Be smart. Don't be dumb. Okay, bye.